What's going on, guys? Today we are going to be stretching the limits of what a vinyl can do and why that matters. Let's go. Stretching allows it to get into the contours of the vehicle, so it's really nice and it hugs that area. One thing to note is that vinyl can stretch roughly, depending on the make, about 15%. So what that means is I have this orange one right here. So I'm going to go ahead and just squeegee that down. And to make it stretch, you actually don't need heat, because you can do cold stretch in some vinyl, but heat does make it a lot easier. Now that that's heated up, you can see that I can stretch it quite a bit. And you can see right here, make sure that that's good, the areas that I stretch. Because if you get a ruler, you can see that my squares that I originally have is going to about a 1.25. The middle one where I heat it, it is nearly about 1.5. So that's about 15%, and that's a good amount of stretch. The good news about stretching on vinyl is that you could actually revert it back. So let's say that you want to just hold it lightly like this. And you want to make sure that you're not pulling, because if you're pulling, you're going to be, there you go. And obviously it's a little bit more disfigured, but you can see it's almost back to its original at 1.25. It's really important to make sure to heat evenly. If I were to heat just the middle right here, what's going to happen, it's going to stretch this middle right here, but it's not going to quite stretch here because there's not enough heat. So when you're doing this, you want to make sure that you are going back and forth like so. The other thing is, if you overstretch, you're gonna have something called discoloration, right? So this is a very deep orange color. What's gonna happen if you overstretch is it's gonna start lightening in that areas, and that's not good. So let's go ahead and overstretch it for the sake of science. Okay, so I overstretched it and also overheated. So two things. Okay, so I wanted you to, let me show you real quick. Sorry, this is all messed up now. Take a close look at the overhead camera. And if you look at this part of the orange right over here, and look at this, this is more of a bronze color. And you look at here, and it's a more brighter orange right here. This is what happens if you overstretch. If you look at, this is obviously ripped, but if you look at this right here, this is almost 1.75. So if you do the math, I'm not going to do the math, but it's a lot of stretch because you go from 1.25 to 1.75. That's way too much, to the point where when it discolors like this and when you overstretch like this, that discoloration is actually not going to go away. And the other thing is, if you don't stretch enough, actually, you only want to stretch in areas that you want to. If it's a flat and there's not really a curvature, there's not really a need to. So you don't have to stretch necessarily. However, if it is trying to form around it, you do want to stretch across it, because when you stretch it, what happens too is as it goes towards that and then you heat it, it wants to shrink back to its original, and then it hugs those edges and the curvature of that bumper or whatever you're wrapping. So that's a very important aspect. So the next time you stretch, keep that in mind. It can go about 15%. This is a really good way to practice. You could either print it like a grid, like a 1-inch grid, or you could just get a ruler, some permanent marker, and it'll really give you that practice to make sure that you're stretching uniformly and you're not overstretching. If this was helpful, please subscribe and let us know if you have any questions in the comments below. And that's a wrap. We'll see you next Wednesday.